Welcome again, everyone. We are happy to have you here today for this webinar on Chamber Travel. Learn how to get larger groups that benefit the Chamber and local community, featuring Ian Scott. Before I turn the program over, we have just a few housekeeping notes. Again, remember to place your phone on mute and refrain from placing the call on hold to avoid any background noise. Second, we have reserved time for questions at the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, please ask them using the question function in the webinar access panel. The question box is in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your questions and we will read them aloud. Third, this webinar should take no longer than an hour. Again, it will be recorded and the link will be emailed to attendees. Ian Scott is the president of Aventura World by Central Holidays West. Over the years, Aventura World has been a reliable and trusted partner of ACCE. ACCE's leadership values the relationship which we have built over the years and have themselves participated on many of Aventura World trips. Now, I present to you Ian Scott.
Thank you very much, Tenja, for having me here today, and thank you all for taking some time out of your busy schedule to learn a little bit about Aventura World and about chamber travel, how to create large groups, and what are the benefits of travel? That's a question I'm often asked as we go through Chamberland from coast to coast of the United States and Canada. So in a moment, we're going to go through we're going to go through the process and go through some tried and tested methods that over the last since 1972 we have brought to the industry of how to create fundraising programs with the least amount of labor cost to the organizer. This webinar today is designed for the new chamber that's never operated travel before, and also possibly new insights and new thinking to chambers that has had a program for the last year, 2 years or longer. So in a moment with the 8 slides, we're going to go through this. So let's start with a little bit of who Aventura World is first. I don't want to make this webinar into a party political broadcast, but I want you to understand who we are before we talk through various methods that you can bring forth for success in travel. So Aventura World has been in business since 1972, and we're a valued leader in the travel marketplace. We are a full service travel wholesaler, not a travel agent, and I make that distinction. A travel agent would come to a wholesaler to plan their programs. So due to our strong negotiations, the fact that we don't have middlemen in our process, we can offer you tremendously value-conscious prices without reducing or affecting the quality. We specialize in fundraising travel programs with a low labor cost to the organizer. We don't operate vacations. We are a member of the Sakara International Travel Group with thousands of employees worldwide. Sakara owns riverboats, one of our riverboats right there in the center, the shot there of one of our Nile boats. Sakara owns hotels throughout the world. There's the JW Marriott, bus companies, travel companies, and other travel-related entities. We have offices on both sides of the United States, as well as London, Paris, Rome, Delhi, and Cairo. And we're dedicated to bringing forth the treasures of the world to you. Now, not just the sights and sounds like the pyramids or the Leaning Tower of Pisa or the Barrier Reef, but unique aspects, meeting local people, learning of entrepreneurship, local business structure, infrastructure of the destinations and the land that we're traveling through with what we call our cultural discovery series. It could be such things as learning of farming in Iceland with volcanic steam powering and warming the greenhouses. It could be meeting a local mayor in Italy and learning about the town itself. It could be meeting an ex-prison guard in South Africa and learning about apartheid and his time as the prison guard of Nelson Mandela. Such things as that, not just all about viewing the land and the sights. There's so much more that the world has to offer through our programs. We're told on numerous occasions that we're the leader in value price first-class programs in the United States. And Aventura works and partners with the top producing chambers in the United States. Lastly, we only plan group fundraising travel programs. When you operate a fundraising travel program, you never know how many people you're going to get. There is a criteria to make sure that your success is increased, which is different to a vacation. A vacation, you'll go with your family. You know that Aunt Maud from Boston's going to go, Uncle Clive from Miami's going, and you've got your brothers and sisters. You know you've got X amount of people to go, but in fundraising travel, you're never quite sure. So we'll bring forth our experience today to show you how you can increase the possibilities of success and bring forth large groups on this particular event. So today, in this webinar, we're going to discuss how to create big groups, and we're going to discuss the benefits of chamber travel. This is something that a board member could be asking you if you haven't operated a program before. Selecting a travel partner. I am sure that there are many companies out there right now, and probably somebody who's listening to me right now, they're getting a call from a travel entity right now. But who is the right person for you? We're going to discuss finding the right person. Oh, and here you can see travel is a fabulous way to get around the world and to experience. Here's me in Peru. I'm being attacked by a killer lamb. As you can see, I have a little bit of concern on my face. Protecting the chamber financially is a big part of our business. Planning for success, we'll discuss selecting a destination, selecting a date, the chamber thinking. How do you need to think to produce big groups? The marketing aspect, getting the message out, mass media outlets, protecting your affinity. I can't overemphasize the importance of this section here. We'll discuss about complementary spaces on the trip, the financial benefits with actual examples of chambers, of what they produced in 2019 and what the run rate is for 2020. If you need more information on these, I would be happy to, on a one-to-one basis, reach out to me and I'll give you specifics even more about these entities. We'll discuss other benefits too, fam trips, familiarization trips. We will have an ACCE Aventura World joint fam trip heading out for chamber execs in November of the year. This year, we'll be launching that within a hop, skip, and a jump. And lastly, we'll open up to questions. So that's our outline today. So I've always come forth with the same statement. Travel is an education and it is a privilege. And the benefits of starting a chamber travel program are tremendous and far more than what I'm going to bring forth today. But in a nutshell and briefly, most chambers enter into travel for non-dues revenue, to gain a new stream of revenue. I am told it's far easier than a golf tournament, than a village market, in the fact of it's a lot more fun, a lot less labor, and it's a lot more exciting when you are going to see this cow in Switzerland, as opposed to trying to figure out how to hit a ball or trying to figure out how to get people from point A to point B on a golf course. Creating an international footprint for the chamber. Many chambers don't have the ability to say, we have international programs. Creating a travel program is a way that you can say, as possibly a smaller, mid-sized chamber, we have an international footprint. Taking a leadership role in the local community is very important. The leadership role in educating your members and members of the local community and life outside the United States. Business practices, social practices, values, history, that entrepreneurship of our and unique aspects of programs like our Cultural Discovery Series. It's a fabulous way to bring forth an education value to members and members of the local public. Reward your staff with free travel. It's a retention tool. It is also, with some of our partners, a reason to gain good quality staff, is they have an ability, as long as they work on the program, to go and travel for free. Building long-lasting relationships. Top chambers that produce large numbers build long-lasting relationships. They do it well. Travel is so easy to build relationships, and we'll discuss a little bit more of that later. Grooming travelers to become benefactors. Many chambers that's been in the chamber travel industry for years haven't come forth into this yet. But because you build long-lasting relationships on chamber trips, you have the ability to talk to travelers and have them come over from being a non-dues revenue source to a non-dues revenue source and a benefactor too. Now, selecting a travel partner. Yes, important. And there are many entities out there, as I mentioned. But you need to make sure, and it's a big part of doing your homework, they have years of experience in fundraising travel, not vacations. And that's an important aspect. A company that is experienced in producing big groups, the logistics of big groups. If they do produce big groups, it means that the products are designed for large productions. They know how to operate large groups. It's a great checkbox for you. A company that allows you to sell, as this is a non-dues revenue format, you need to, or most chambers want to get as many people as possible on their program. So you need to align and partner with a company that can allow you to sell and not limit you to small numbers. A company that designs fundraising trips. It goes back a little bit to the second point, a company that has big group production. Product and big group production come hand in hand. A company that doesn't advertise any price on their website. Why? Some chambers make $200 a person, some make $500 a person. It is important that your travelers can't go on the website and say, oh, well, this particular program with this particular entity, I've seen it on the website, is $29.99. Well, why is yours $30.99? Or why is yours $28.99? Because there's a variance there with the amount of money you make. We are a wholesaler of travel, so we'll advise you on how much money you can make out of each destination. So this particular section is most important. Company that designs their own programs from the source. Again, value priced quality programs. I'm always in the belief of a traveler should come to the chamber and say, this program is too good to believe, but because the chamber's offering it, it must be true. The price is great, and that's what we want to bring forth, and that's what you should be bringing forth. Unique destinations not offered inside your local community. Try and avoid things such as anybody saying we'll do cruises, all inclusives. They don't work at all in chamber travel. A full service wholesale company. Full service being a market, they have the product, the marketing, the operational side, and the accounting side to assist you in this process. Again, creating a small labor footprint for you to produce large numbers. A company that protects your affinity and client lists. They do not contact your travelers directly. We're going to go a little bit further on that in another slide later on, because this is the most important part of building large groups. You can't have anybody dilute your affinity. Now, these partners that we've just discussed hopefully will give you sound advice and will allow you to sleep at night. It's important to gain the right partner. A partner that will have frank and forthright conversations, the goods and bads of all product, positives or negatives. Every destination has them, and if somebody only talks about positives, then my strong recommendation to you is, well, what are the negatives of these destinations? You have to have a full, frank conversation with the entity. The more information you get, the better informed you are, and the easier it will be to produce large groups with frank and forthright conversations to your travelers. It's important that the company you partner with offers frank and sound financial advice and risk assessment to chambers. Not just risk assessment on destinations and such things as that, but the financial aspects of collecting money on travel. If you recall, and some of you most probably will remember this, 10 years ago, 28 chambers booked their travel program with a company called ABC Destinations. The company went bankrupt or closed the doors, leaving about 1,100 passengers without the trip they paid for. Aventura World assisted those entities and paid for everybody that had paid by personal check themselves, and assisted credit card refunds with everybody that paid credit cards too. I want to bring this forth as it's important, as in 2020, there are many travel companies out there that are offering special discounts. If you pay, or if your travelers pay for the trip by check or wire transfer. This is exactly what ABC Destinations requested. Pay all by check. Please avoid this scenario at all cost. My point is, why expose the chamber to financial exposure for $100 discount? Financial exposure is if anything happens to that company and your passenger has paid by check, you're in the ABC Destination scenario. They've lost their money. Always encourage your travelers to pay by credit card. By doing that, you protect the chamber. You protect the traveler. There are laws by credit card that the credit card companies abide to when a company defaults on a product or on a service. So please keep that in mind, and I strongly encourage you to always tell your travelers to pay by credit card. Aventura World offers an early bird discount, but it is by credit card payment. There are no rules and regulations that it must be by check or wire transfer. That's a little bit about that side of things. Now, how do you start looking at to create big groups? There are many ways, and I'm so happy and honored to have worked with some of the top providing chambers in the country for travel. These are smart people. They've created systems and procedures to bring forth large groups, and I'm bringing forth some of those ideas that we've worked on together or they brought to the table. And here we go. So planning for success. The most successful chambers are built on is start with a narrative of why the chamber is offering travel. It's important. This is a chamber of commerce. Why are you entering into travel? Narratives in the past have been, I want to start an international awareness programs. I want to educate the local public and members on the world and the way of life. We need money to fund projects, feasibility studies, and such things as that. All the narrative that you need to start bringing, and this is an individual narrative that you would bring forth. It is important, however, that non-members and members are invited to join in on the program and know the narrative. It is important to set the goal, stick it up on your board of a notice board of how much money you want to gain from this particular program, and assign money to where the money to where it will be spent. Visualize that money. Again, top producing chambers do this all the time. Visualize the number of passengers that you're going to need for you, if you're a chamber president, or staff members to go free. It's important and it's imperative to gain a staff buy-in. Most staff will buy in quite quickly. Travel's sexy, it's fun, it's intriguing, and by incentivizing staff with free travel, you will gain the buy-in. Obviously, they have to work on the process to get that buy-in. Assign a chamber champion to manage the program. Why? I've got another slide that'll bring forth a little bit more about this, but the reason that people are traveling with the chamber is not because of the travel company. I wish it was, but again, frank and forthright conversations are important. The reason that travelers are traveling with the chamber is, one, it's a great product, it's a great price. Two, the chamber has a great name and a great reputation, and they want to align themselves with the chamber. In many cases, an individual won't have the ability to align themselves with the chamber because they may not be a member, they may not be even in the workforce. So it's great, and they feel honored to be able to travel with the chamber, come into the chamber and talk to chamber entities. So it's important to have somebody in the office who will be the meet and greet and will be the go-to person for travel. It's important not to hide that this is a fundraising section. You're traveling hopefully with a wholesaler, and you're confident that you can say this price is tremendous, and because we're traveling with a wholesaler, this is a fundraising program. And let them know, these travelers, where the money is being spent on. They will not mind, and they'll feel honored that X amount of money is going towards roads, feasibility studies, maybe renovations of the chamber building. We have partners who's done feasibility studies on bringing airlines into small airports. Travelers are proud of that if you let them know. Don't hide the fact. Seek inside information from your travel partner. The more knowledge you know, the better you can sell the program. And always have a staffer go on the trip. We're going to bring forth more about that in a moment. And promote the trip right. Market it well. Marketing is so important on this particular program. We could give you a $10,000 trip for $1. If you don't get the message out, nobody's going to take that particular program. So it is important to get the message out on the program. Now, as I mentioned earlier, fundraising travel and a product is important, and the knowledge of what's the difference between fundraising travel and vacation travel is paramount. There are no guarantees in our industry. We do not deal in rocket science. but there are tried and tested methods that we have developed since 1972 to increase participation and have a better possibility of large groups. To narrow it down for the sake of this webinar to 3 components, and again, if you'd like more information on this, please reach out to us. But there are 3 real areas that we discuss to build your participation. Select a destination that's not readily available in the local area and that's not in the Sunday newspaper. And I'm going to take that one step further. Make sure there's always a foreign language. It's important. Somewhere where people feel that they cannot go by themselves is a great destination for a fundraising trip. Select a destination. Now, if I'm talking to US travelers, US chambers, 9 days in length maximum. Now, you can go with an optional extension of 3 days on top of that, but it's option. In the United States, that's the key length of time for the best participation possible. If you have a program of 10, 11 nights, your participation, due to extensive market research that we've done, will reduce between 38 to 43% by adding a couple of extra nights on the program. If you're a Canadian, less, you can go longer. Those Canadians north of the border, they go longer on their vacations. So you can go 12, 13, 14 without dropping participation. But I believe the majority of us on this webinar are from south of the border in the US. Gain a value price trip. Not cheap, but again, that conversation, boy, this trip is too good to be true, but the chamber's offering it, so it must be true, is what you want to try and bring forth. Now, selecting a travel date. Yes, there's a lot of days in the year. How do we get the most participation from this? When are the value periods for the destinations that you're discussing? Chamber travel is a value period. It's not a cheap period, but it's a value destination and clientele. Chamber travelers may go on 2, 3 trips a year, so they look after their dollars so they can do that. Importantly, when is weather at home inclement? When's the weather poor? Especially if you're starting in chamber travel, this is an important one. People don't want to be going on a trip in May, June, July, especially if it's a cold climate. That traveler's been waiting to gain the flowers in the garden and the beautiful sun all year. Go in that sense in a February, March, October, November is a great time to do it. When do you need the profit from travel is an important side. What type of financial calendar year do you operate on? That might be an aspect of when you need to travel too, between March or November, for example. When can you dedicate time to launch the program, to kick off the marketing? Avoid such things as graduations, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. Any holiday at all is important, and try your best to avoid it. Now, I'm a big believer, if you can get the president to go on the trip or a top executive, you're already on a success trajectory. So when can the president or when can an executive from the chamber go on this trip? The higher the executive in the organization that goes on the trip, it correlates to numbers. Travelers love to travel with the president or the VP or the executive VP, something such as that. Now, start marketing. The earlier the better to get the message out. Plan ahead. Travel has a different window than regular chamber programs. It's a longer promote time. Please do keep that in mind. If you're already in chamber travel, 9 months should be about it. If you're a first-time traveling chamber, try and get there around about 12 months in advance and try and market in advance. Here we've got a great way to market it. We've got a lovely white wall on the side of the building with advertising island. Great ways to get the message out. Treat the travel process like any other chamber event, maybe a membership drive or membership gaining, something like that. The more you get the message out, the more people will go on the program. Leave no media stone unturned, if at all possible. And the chamber office thinking is, yes, we've got to try and figure out the chamber office thinking too. Discuss that narrative to all prospective travelers, to all prospective board members. Have that narrative of why you're traveling, and it's important. Assign that motivated staff to handle the travel project, to be the point of action for when John and Alice comes through the door. They've got their registration form ready to sign up. They ask for Jessica, and Jessica comes through the door with a beaming smile and greets, and they're so happy to be in the chamber building and to be transacting with the chamber. It's important to deputize all staff, board members as ambassadors, travel ambassadors, to get the message out. Top producing chambers. This is most important. They embrace the thinking that travel is not black and white. There are so many changeables in travel. We work with airlines, hotels, restaurants, bus companies, admissions, local unions, all possibilities of changes. And we encourage all chamber staff members to use the F word as much as possible. The most successful chambers use the F words daily. The F word is for flexibility. I can't overemphasize this, that if you have a flexible, relaxed chamber executive on a travel program, your travelers will mirror image the executive, and they'll be relaxed and flexible. If you have a high-strung chamber executive on a program, your chamber travelers will be high-strung too. So relax, take it easy, and use the F word. And I know I shocked you there for a moment with the F word, but F is for flexibility. Make sure that everybody knows that you're traveling in the town, city, in the region. Invite everybody that they're welcome to travel with the chamber. Build that marketing plan to enhance all your tools and getting the message out. So here is this. Inform all members to ask their friends and families, and let their friends and families know that they can travel with the chamber. They don't need to be a member unless you state it is so. But again, to produce large numbers, we recommend that non-members are allowed to travel on the program. Send out information to all businesses, small, medium, maybe some large businesses, that you have this travel program, and they can use this travel program as an incentive to reward maybe salespeople, operational people for good service within the company. And they can buy 1 or 2 slots on the trip as that incentive and reward. I was in Kansas just recently, and a gentleman walked in with a check from his company. It was his retirement gift. 25 years working with the same company. They had bought 2 spots, one for him, one for his wife, on the chamber's travel program. Let people know this is possible. And again, a lot of current travel chambers don't do this. This is a great way to bolster your numbers. Take out Facebook ads. It's so important. They're inexpensive. It's pennies on the dollar. I have an entity in the Midwest who we partner with that has sent out Facebook ads to other cities in and around the area. And for as little as $25 has been pulling 10 people out of cities that they have no presence in at all. Facebook really works. Get the message out to the mass media, local press. Discuss the narrative. Maybe not a sales presentation, but the chamber wishes to enter into international awareness and education programs to educate chamber members and members of the local community on travel outside XYZ town, XYZ state. And we're taking a leadership role in that. Local press most probably will pick up on that message sooner than saying, we're offering a trip, can you get travelers to come on it? The same with local radio and TV. Many chambers have Sunday morning radio slots or might have a TV slot. Get a little announcement on there. Talk to your partner, see if your partner could be on there. I've been on many radio shows. For many of our partners, we usually get 3 to 5 minutes to talk about the destinations. But again, that's a way you'll get the message to be big and the travel program to be big. The Norfolk Chamber, the Hampton Roads Chamber in Virginia got an infomercial on the 6 o'clock news once. And the program sold out within 25 minutes. The phones went crazy. Inform, if you're already up and running, this is a given. You already know this, but inform pre-existing traveler base of the destination that you're going, your current travelers. Build strategic alliances with charity groups and organizations, local colleges and universities, senior centers, other fundraising organizations, and understand that travel has a longer promote time, as I mentioned earlier. Treat this like any chamber event. Succeed. You'll be able to succeed on this if you get the message out. Mass media. Good friend of mine, Mike McMullen from the Carroll County Chamber, with his hands up in the background. I've had the opportunity to speak with him on the radio many, many times. And here he is giving his Sunday morning broadcast. Newspapers, the Ulster Chamber in upstate New York, a piece about their program. Now, one of the most important things about creating and maintaining big groups is protecting your affinity. The key is, do not let a travel company market to your travelers. It's important to do your homework on this. There are all sorts of different companies out there. There's travel agents, there's wholesalers. There's wholesalers that are only interested in individual travel. There are travel companies that are interested in individual, group, but are also direct mail or email based companies. So it's important you look at what the company is that you're talking to. Check out the company's website. It's important. If you log on that website and all of a sudden you get a pop-up to say, hey, would you like to be on our email list? Would you like to be on our mail list? It should be a red flag. There should be alarm bells going off. This is an entity that's not going to protect your affinity, because they're going to try and go direct to the traveler and take you out of the picture. Has the company got pricing and dates on their website? If so, again, we mentioned that earlier, people can look at your price and look at the price on the website and see if there's any difference. You should go to bed at night feeling comfortable, your price is good and it can't be broken apart in any way. But also these entities could be looking for individual travelers, not groups. Does the company allow you to book a trip without belonging to a group. Just go on the website. I want to go to Tuscany. Does it allow me to do that? If that's the case, that is not a company that's interested in group travel. They're looking for individual travelers, and they'll take 2 from here, 2 from there, 2 from somewhere else, and before they know it, they've got a group of 30, and you all go together. There's no affinity there at all. All these above should be red flags to you, and you should avoid them. The picture that I have here is a great example. The Chamber's offering a trip to, let's say, Tuscany. You've got 1 date, 1 price, 1 destination. If you partner with a company that has the ability to book travelers individually, your travelers can go on that website and they could book a trip to Australia. They could book a trip to New Zealand. They could book a trip to Spain, South Africa. It's very difficult for the Chamber to compete against 50, 60, 100 destinations when you're only offering 1 destination and 1 date and 1 price. You'll lose all the time. Look for these red flags. It's most important. Free places on the trip. Fabulous. Follow our plan, free places will come. But it's important to go on the trips or have somebody go on the trips to be with the travelers, to build the affinity, to experience and have the adventure with your travelers. Again, travelers are not going on the program because of the travel company. They're going because of a wish to connect with the Chamber. It builds affinity. It builds benefactors. And we can bring more information about this. We don't have time to discuss about building benefactors in this presentation, but I had a conversation with a Chamber exec just this week, and he said, I go on these, president of an entity, and I go on these trips, and when I'm at home, I've got this lawyer, and he's always unhappy, and he's always in business mode. He comes on our program with the Chamber each year. He's a different person. I can talk to him because we're in a happy environment, a stress-free environment. He's not thinking about his law firm. I can discuss what's happening in the Chamber. We can discuss shortfalls and such things as that with our such entities like that. The guard's down, everybody's happy. And it's a great way, travel's a great way to build that benefactor base. Now, actual incomes and actual examples. A Chamber in the Pacific Northwest last year did 108 passengers to Slovenia and Croatia. 86 people they've got booked for their trip in 2020. They gained free spaces of 5. This is not a big Chamber. 5 free spaces. They made $55,000. They have invested in the local community with local projects, feasibility studies on ring roads, rural roads, airport studies to bring aircrafts into the area in a seasonal format. They've increased staff retention and they've hired people. This is an annual event. They look to make this much money each year on travel. We've got a New England Chamber. In 2019, produced 141 people. Currently, they've got 120 people in 2020. They've got 7 frees in 19. They just under $50,000 they made. Again, they've spent it on a little different, local projects, office enhancements, staff retention, and new hiring. Again, another annual event. This is a Midwest Chamber that in 2019 produced 48 passengers. They've got 40 right now for 2020. They got 2 free spaces. They got 14,400 in non-dues revenue, and they spent money on office renovations. That was the second time they partnered on travel. The first time they got 36, they got 48, and now they're expecting 70 on the 2020 program. They've done a fabulous job. They've followed our guidance on building large groups, and it's paying off. Other benefits, staff retention. Yeah, you get a happy staff if they're traveling international. The ability to fund projects, the ability to connect with local residents and have them do the same with you, to really gain additional money from newfound benefactors. You gain money on non-dues revenue, but benefactors could give you $5,000, $10,000 for a particular project if you can talk to them on a trip. Yes, to build future benefactors on a trip. Bonding between chamber, its members, and local residents in a non-local environment is so important. And to bring that in educational, international awareness education, life is different outside the town, the city, the local area. The ability to have staff travel for free while on a profit-making event. Now, that's a little bit more about it. I've got a little bit, we're coming close to the end of our presentation now. Each year we have fam trips. We've got a fam trip happening in November. It will be announced through ACCE very shortly. We've been to Dubai, Spain, Amalfi Coast, Sicily, Egypt, Peru, Italy, Greece. It's going to be announced very soon. If you want to get on this list, please send information send your name and contact details to info@Aventura World and put in the heading, I want fam news. We have a great time. We meet local community. We meet local chambers of commerce. We learn about business in the area. We have fun with your peers from across the country. Adventure awaits, non-dues revenue awaits, and they're there for the taking. They certainly are. I'm a strong believer, I may be biased, but I'm a strong believer that every chamber should be in fundraising chamber travel. Questions, please. Tenja, do we have any questions?
At this time, we don't have any, Ian, but please feel free to highlight any points that you think that you really want them to take away. And I'm sure that we'll have a couple rolling in here in a few minutes or so.
Okay. I mean, I think it's one of those things. Frank and forthright conversations is most important. We brought an overview of what you should do. A roadmap that's been developed by the top producing chambers in the United States. But the next step is to talk to somebody like us to find out, to have a qualifying meeting, to find out how we can get you from maybe 0 or maybe 20 travelers up to 50, up to 70, up to 110, 140 people, and find out if it is possible to be done. There's one right here that says, how much do people make on programs? It just depends on the entity and how long you've been in the industry. From $200 to $500 is what a chamber would make. If you're starting off in the process, I strongly encourage the $200 to $300 per person mark. Once you've been in there and you've built your affinity and you've protected your affinity, your pricing can go up.
Hi, Ian. I have one question from Callie D'Angelo. Are your trips guided?
Our trips are guided. Now, the distinction of guided is very important. So they have tour directors on the program, somebody who will travel with you or will be there as an information source. They've forgotten more about these destinations than we will ever know. And all of our programs have that. They may also, and they may conduct some aspects of the guiding. Dependent on the program, there are other, what we call step-on, step-off guides, specialized maybe in that specific area. Italy's a union destination, for example. You have step-on, step-off guides in Florence, in Pisa, in Lucca. in Siena, you must have step-on, step-off guides because it's a regulation and a law to do so. So yes, we do. We have tour directors as well as, when needed, step-on, step-off guides.
Wonderful. All right, Ian. Well, it looks like those are all of the questions that we have today.
Yes.
Um, thank you for this wonderful webinar. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you, Tendra. As you can see, we have our email here for additional questions. If you need additional information, please do reach out to us. We look forward to helping you.
Perfect. Ian, actually, we have another question. Hold on one moment.
Hold on.
Nick Messino. Yeah, Nick Messino just sent a question in. We are considering a trip exclusively for our board members and our high value members only. Any pitfalls?
No, it's all a question of expectations. If you're only going to operate it for your board members, then there's only so many people you can get on the program. And we work with state chambers, we've done gubernatorial trips, we've done all sorts of different trips. There are some entities that say, hey, I want to have 20 people on there, and that's all I want, and they have a higher amount of fundraising involved in that. And then we've got others that say, hey, I want to get as many people as possible. So no, please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you about that. There's some unique aspects that will take a little bit longer to discuss that we have time for on this webinar, but we'd love to talk to you about that because there are again positives and negatives of that.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, Ian. It looks like that was our final question for this afternoon. Thank you again for this informative webinar. It was a pleasure as always, Ian. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Again, I will email a link to this webinar so you will be able to access it at any time. And be sure to notate Ian's contact information. He will be more than happy to assist you with any questions. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you, Ian. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.